Hello, friends. Welcome to the stream. Gonna have a little stream today. Gonna have it your way. Uh, we've got an article we're gonna read through. I think you guys liked. It seems like you guys enjoy whenever we get into journalism mode, to editor mode. So we'll do that. Freelance editor. Hope everybody had a good weekend. I did. We moved a lot of stuff around the house. You can't really see it, but I did post in our Discord. Um, Posted in our Discord my new setup here. Here we go. Bring that on over here. Show you guys. But that is actually for longtime stream fans. That monitor is the old monitor that was turned the other way, that I had the politics graphics on, but we really don't use that anymore. And I realized that with just for the price of a Fire Stick, I could have my dream and just have 4 constantly running cable news channels. I don't know why it makes me so happy, but it does. Explain the whiteboard. There's a whiteboard on the floor, but it was my outline for World's Greatest Con Season 3. So yeah, I mean, that's, I don't know how much it held up to the final focus of it, but yeah, World's Greatest Con Season 3 I did all by myself, and that was dumb. That was stupid. I did it all by myself. I didn't have Will work on it because I just had it all in my head and I wanted to tell it. And yeah, there's a line on there. It says demonic ejaculation. It's one of the best stories in the season. If you are self-identifying as somebody who didn't listen to World's Greatest Con Season 3, then allow me, if you think that phrase is interesting, then the story behind it, I guarantee you, is even more interesting, and you can hear it out of the mouths of the guys who were there. You're going to make yourself mentally ill by having 24-hour news on at all times. Yes, and all right. Here's what I'm really combating against. I'm combating against when I get bored doing a thing, editing, going through emails, whatever. When I get distracted, I often reach for the phone, right, and go to Twitter or Reddit, or I will go to Twitter or Reddit on my desktop. But if there's a gigantic shiny thing next to my vision, when I get bored, I'll just turn, look at the chyrons, get immediately disgusted by television news, which I don't like. And then I'll just go back to work. If I don't get into a phone hole, this is also like in those little moments when like a web page is not loading super fast, or like I'm rendering something or I'm exporting something. Those are when I pick up the phone and then I've lost 30 minutes because I'm just fucking around on Twitter. Met charging Logitech Mountain Mask combo. What a great gift. Yeah, I finally used Brian's gift to me from Christmas 2 years ago. It sounds like some Hollywood music industry satanic stuff. What? The demonic ejaculation? The demonic ejaculation comes in the third episode of the third season of World's Greatest Con, and it is the moment of reckoning when third season of World's Greatest Con is about Project Alpha. Project Alpha is a thing that happened in the 80s where two young boys around 19 to 20 told researchers at the Washington University at St. Louis research lab that they had psychic powers. And they had a code. The code was that if anybody asked them if they were doing magic tricks, they would admit it, but that they would keep doing magic tricks with the willful understanding that these guys would keep testing them as if they were real psychics. And the demonic ejaculation is the straw that breaks the camel's back as to the consequences that the lying, the theatrical lying that the boys are doing, they finally kind of have enough of it because they see real world consequences. It is a very, I love that story because it is as funny as it is really disturbing. Like there's an element of it that's like, it's sad. It's really, really sad. But I don't know if you guys, I mean, maybe I didn't do a good enough job promoting this season when it came out. Go listen to season 3 of World's Greatest Con. It's really fucking good. It might be the best thing I've ever done, to be totally honest with you. I definitely put my soul into it. I have not worked like that on an audio project since. It is my most recent best work that I've done, in my opinion. And a big salute to Banachek and Mike, who, they're the boys, now men, but we interviewed both of them. We interviewed them together. Oh, wow. 40th anniversary of Michael Larson. I did not see that. I just realized that eating cherries on stream, of all the things to eat on stream, eating on stream is a bad idea in general. Eating cherries on stream, maybe the worst. Maybe the worst. Can you post We're Not Wrong earlier in the day so it's available for my morning commute in Europe? So here's the process of We're Not Wrong. We're Not Wrong is recorded Central Time between 11 and 2 o'clock. All that goes to Will Saddleberg. Will Saddleberg lines everything up, listens to it, edits it. The video, as of now, is unedited. That is the full recording, unless there are things that, like, unless somebody says, hey, cut when I said blank. It just is what it is. So that goes to Will. Will usually gets done with it late, like evening East Coast time, and he'll throw it in our group chat. So the earliest it could go out, if I were really on the ball, would be evening Wednesday. And sometimes it does. Like, there was one of the Israel-Palestine episodes that I knew just was going to get a lot of shit. And so I'm like, I just want to get this out. So I've done it then. But in general, I kind of like to make it part of my Thursday morning routine where I wake up, post everything. Although that being said, I don't know. Maybe I should clear stuff out of Thursdays. They're doing a movie about Michael Larson with Paul Walter Hauser. He'd be great. You know, Paul Walter Hauser, very hot right now. Except for the fact that Jamie Taco keeps stealing his lines. See you, Whisk. Okay. I should probably stop eating cherries, but I just want to eat more cherries. I can't stop eating these cherries. Caitlyn Clark drama for the sports question of the week. That would be really funny to do a sports question of the week where it's just, should Pat have apologized for saying Caitlyn's a white bitch? I had to settle down my own group chat. My Florida group chat, man. These are people I've known literally since high school. And they're in there saying, oh, Caitlyn Clark got left off the Olympic team. And I'm like, are we really going to pretend that anybody in this group chat has ever given one single solitary shit about the women's Olympic team? Ever? Ever? So if we're starting to care about it, that's fine. We can now start to care about it. But let's not pretend that this is something that we were really keeping our eye on. Is the Caitlyn Clark drama really drama? Everybody seems to think she's not ready for the Olympics yet. Well, look, with the men's basketball team, what you've often seen are that you've got like all the top players, right? The veterans that are at the top of their game, apex of their career. And then you take like one or two of the like rookies or like people who are just graduated just to basically give them that experience, because you're basically grooming them to be the next, like they have the talent to be those veterans. And so that is what it is. That's what I've witnessed, just watching stuff in the past. That being said, Caitlyn Clark, who you cannot take away what Caitlyn Clark and Angel Reese did for the women's game and that South Carolina team. The women's game became supernova, went supernova because of those specific players. Not to say that the women's game hadn't had a rich history, it did. Not to say that other women haven't paved the way, they did. But look, a moment is a moment is a moment. Stars are stars are stars. And so those women, and specifically the interplay between the two of them, Angel Reese being very bombastic, Caitlyn Clark being very talented, but in that Midwestern humble. I don't see color, so I can't judge whether or not there's a race thing. Somebody in the chat, please fill us in. But there is an element. There is like a made for television excitement to it. It is gone to the WNBA. We are now talking more about the WNBA in some ways, certainly than hockey, than baseball. Like a lot of men's sports are being overshadowed by the WNBA, at least in terms of the chatter. Partly it's because it's new, but partly it's because there's a big meaty topic in the summer. And in the summer, when there's no football, there's a need for shit to talk about. So good for the WNBA. They're making money. Caitlyn Clark seems like a great performer, like a terrific athlete. That's my take. Lance from Ohio, thank you. The WNBA is going to progressive themselves out of business. I don't know. I actually am bullish on the WNBA. I was talking to a friend of mine who's actually produced content for the WNBA in the past, and I was like, the WNBA needs to market itself as like what sports were before the money showed up. So it's like when they were talking about like charter flights and everything, it's like, that's cool, but they should really put an emphasis on like, look at these women who are more like you. They are more like the customer than male athletes are. Male athletes are not now. The guaranteed money is more than what most people make in a year. And that's at the bottom level. Those are the people who ride the bench. WNBA, like you can really sell that. And then also it's like, I don't know, dude. I would just like to see those women talking shit. I like the fact that the current thing is that they're a little chippy. That's good. Are the tickets more affordable? Oh, hell yeah. If they bully Clark out of the league for not being a boring black lesbian, that will progressive themselves out of business. I don't think that Caitlyn Clark's going anywhere. I think she's an athlete. She's a top flight athlete. I think that's exactly her aesthetic. That's part of the reason why this is a fun controversy is that like it's not like they're hitting Caitlyn Clark with some shit that isn't exactly what she's like built in a lab to conquer. She's the person who very quietly just eviscerates you. Apparently she talks some shit on the court, but that's like, I mean, again, you hate to say like, oh, well, she's a white player, blah, blah, blah. So she's Larry Bird. But that was part of what the Larry Bird shit was. She should have taken the $5 million for Ice Cube's made up league. The big three. Also, like, I don't know. I think people need to calm down with some of this. Calm down with some of this. Like, this ain't the first time that there's been a controversy like this. It's fine. It's fine. If anything, it's like it's textbook storytelling. She's facing adversity. It would be less interesting if she walked right in and smoked everybody. It's interesting now. All right, you want to read this? I have not read this Biden article. Biden is resetting. All right, one more cherry, and then we'll do this because I'll probably cut this out for a YouTube video. So I don't want to be eating cherries on the YouTube video. I will likely eat a cherry. Well, thank you. Ryan's a good dude. I really like Ryan. And the more I talk to him, the more I really enjoy going back and forth. All right. Boom. Well, here, let's do like a little intro. As we speak right now, by the polls and the betting markets, Donald Trump would win the election if the election were today. Well, the election isn't today. If you thought it was today, you were greatly mistaken. But there are a lot of panicked Democrats, especially after the convictions for Trump in New York don't seem to have had a tremendous immediate impact on the polls. And so we read now from Politico. Turning the corner. Biden ramps up campaign to calm Democratic nerves. You want to know what the first thing you do when you want to ramp up the campaign to calm Democratic nerves? You make sure that somebody at Politico writes an article about it. Adam Wren and Elena Schneider on the beat. For more than a year, President Joe Biden and his campaign's high command have dismissed Democratic concerns about his reelection prospects as the bloviations of ill-informed, unappreciative, and neatly panicky backseat drivers. That's a lead. That's a lead. We got some writers in the house. Bloviations of ill-informed, unappreciative, innately panicky backseat drivers. You want to know why you write that? Because I'm going to take a wild guess that this story is filled with pro-Biden reelect people who believe this. So you know they're going to read this, and you want them to feel good about that sentence. But now, beset by a growing drumbeat of doubts and largely immovable polling, Biden is changing course on multiple fronts, making stylistic changes and fashioning major policy initiatives with an eye on shoring up his political vulnerabilities and projecting vigor from within the campaign. He is not explicitly conceding that the bedwetters, the derisive Democratic term of art coined by Obama campaign manager and White House advisor David Plouffe, are right, but he's certainly changing the linens. He and his team have preemptively moved to ditch the traditional debate structure and force two independent forums with Donald Trump. He has begun sitting for interviews with the types of major publications and outlets that he has largely shunned. So what are we talking about here? Time, which did not go well. And ABC? Yeah, ABC. Those are the links. I mean, not exactly, bold. Those are about as safe as you can get, but we continue. After studiously avoiding Trump's criminal trial, he referred to his opponent as a convicted felon. They don't mention that was not in public. That was at a fundraiser. while the campaign dispatched actor Robert De Niro to draw attention to the courthouse drama. And he has begun taking more direct steps to re-engage black voters from drifting away from him, including a much-hyped stop alongside Vice President Kamala Harris in Philadelphia. And that, friends, is just the messaging front. Biden's policy portfolio has also undergone a revamping that portrays a president tiring of the bedwetting narrative. The idea of bedwetting is entirely driven by polling. Are you winning? Are you losing? Now, you will always have people second guessing you. You're running for president of the United States. There's an entire class of people that make their living working on campaigns. Not everybody can work on a campaign, and especially the campaign that's up there. And so, sometimes you get people who are mad. What's interesting to me is that they're pointing to look, we're doing things. We're doing things. It's not the bedwetting, it's the specific criticisms. Now, specific criticisms tend to get written off like they are all the exact same thing. But just to say, oh, well, we want to please the bedwetters. I don't know. In a matter of weeks, Biden adopted a new policy for Ukraine that would see U.S. weapons deployed in parts of Russia. He debuted a new peace proposal for Gaza, and then he announced a new executive order to effectively shut down huge swaths of the U.S.-Mexico border as Republicans continue to hammer the Democrats on immigration. I will say that all these things are things. I don't know if I'd put them all in the same bucket. I think that U.S. weapons have been involved in the Ukraine war for a while. The peace proposal in Gaza certainly puts Biden back in the center of saying he wants to end the war, but is he any closer to doing it? I think the raid on Saturday has more to do with that. And then the executive order, that's probably the biggest thing that you can absolutely say, okay, I'm blinking on this. The border's bad. It's not falling in the polling of what people say is the most important thing about this election. People are more worried about a second term of Biden at the border than they are of abortion, according to a swing state voter poll. That's terrible. That's awful. We need to do something. Let's change that. So here we go. An executive order, bada bing, bang, boom. For allies, it all amounts to a much welcomed effort to silence wary Democrats and reset the race amid widespread fears about the left on his reelection prospects. That is a link. And this was another article, Dems in full-blown freakout. Are these the same authors? Elena Schneider, who's also writing this, wrote that. I'm going to take a wild guess that probably a bunch of people that emailed Elena Schneider over that article probably are the sources for this article. For allies, it amounts to a much welcomed effort to silence wary Democrats and reset the race amid widespread fears about his reelection prospects. Quote, I don't think any of us hold a lot of stock in these polls. Annie Custer, chair of the New Democratic Coalition, but he's beginning his campaign in earnest. And I think that's a good thing, turning the corner. Obviously, he's winding down from getting anything done here in the Republican House. And so we're ready for the campaign and let the season begin. A reminder that we are, hold on, let's see this. How long ago from today was the 2024 State of the Union?
The 2024 State of the Union address was delivered on February 6, 2024. Today is June 10, 2024. So it was 4 months and 4 days ago.
That was the last time that we were resetting this race. The last time we were resetting this race was 4 months ago. Is that right? Was the State of the Union in February? Hold on. Hold on. Are you sure about that? No, it was in March. So 3 months. March 7th. Are you sure about that?
The 2024 State of the Union address was delivered by President Joe Biden on March 7, 2024. Since today is June 10, 2024, it was 3 months and 3 days ago.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you have any more questions.
Shut up. Okay. So 3 months and 3 days ago, that was the last time that we reset the race. And you had that big fundraiser with Colbert and Clinton and Obama. That was it. And so now we're 3 months in, and we are resetting the race again. Inside the Biden campaign, officials maintained that the current ramp up was long planned. One senior official granted anonymity to discuss internal campaign strategy said that a fast forwarding of the election for voters was a key imperative once they entered the summer. They also acknowledged that they are trying to make up a deficit among critical voting bloc. It's no secret that amongst those who are the most tuned in, Joe Biden is faring well. Where we have to make up ground is among those who haven't yet paid a lot of attention to the presidential election. That's where the information gap is the widest. One way to close the gap, the campaign concluded, was by challenging Trump to 2 debates, including one in June, the earliest debate for a general election. But the campaign decided to go more directly after Trump on his legal woes, too. The campaign had begun regularly referring to the former president by his new title, convicted felon, including on a billboard outside of one of Trump's recent events and in social media posts. Biden himself used the descriptor at a fundraiser where the president frequently road tests new messaging before it hits the campaign trail. The sky is blue and Donald Trump is a convicted felon, the senior campaign official said. We're not going to shy away from the reality. The campaign is also trying out what it describes as guerrilla-style campaign events. Oh, my God. Like De Niro's appearance at the Manhattan courthouse. The campaign official called it a good template of what we're looking to do more of in the coming weeks, although they declined to give further details. Timed with Biden's trip to Normandy this week, the campaign dropped an attack ad on Trump, splicing together footage and quotes of the former president referring to veterans as suckers and losers. All right, here we go. This is the attack ad. Why should I go to the cemetery? It's filled with losers. This, according to The Atlantic.
He's the war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured.
As Trump on John McCain. I don't get it. What was in it for them, according to The Atlantic. Suckers. These are all from that same Atlantic article. He knew what he signed up for. Donald J. Trump on the widow of a fallen soldier. That was according to Frederica Wilson. We're not going to support that loser's funeral on John McCain. That guy is smart. Why did he join the military? Again, the Atlantic. It doesn't look good for me. Donald Trump standing next to a wounded soldiers. Again, in the Atlantic.
He handed me his Purple Heart. I always wanted to get the Purple Heart. This was much easier.
Trump joking about getting the Purple Heart. Very somber ad there. While, of course, because it was what the Biden campaign wants to do is show the two sides of it. That there is Joe Biden in Normandy. He is demonstrating America's commitment to when the world needs resolve, you look to America, a shining city on a hill. It is our boys who will do the thing that nobody else can do. Normandy, D-Day, Saving Private Ryan, bop, 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 bop. And then you have this venal, hollow Bible villain, Trump, who's, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the military. Which is funny, because that ad is designed for older voters. It's like Vietnam War era voters who are now older that respect the military as a cudgel against Trump. Because I would take a wild guess and say that, like, rank and file military people are probably more likely to be Trump voters than Biden voters, I would guess, at least if historical trends are the same. The Democratic National Committee is also stepping in step. Oh, actually, here, you want to know what? Let's look this up, because Trump actually responded to that today on the Truth Social. Here we go. Obviously, I never said that dead soldiers are losers and suckers. Why was I say such a thing? It was made up disinformation. Radical left Democrats and Trump. If he's saying the words, we got to do it. Obviously, I would never say that dead soldiers are losers and suckers. Who made up such a thing? It was made up disinformation by radical left Democrats and Trump haters working with a failing magazine, just like Russia, 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 and Ukraine, 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 FISA fraud, 51 intel agents, and so much more. Anytime you see despicable fake statements used, remember that it comes from the fascist scum that's destroying our country. Nobody has done more for the military than Donald J. Trump. I completely rebuilt it and added Space Force to boot. Vote for Trump, MAGA 2024. All right. While another Biden advisor said that these escalations are all part of the ramp-up plan already in place, other Democrats see it as a needed salve for an anxious party. Our base wants to see this aggressiveness. I'm in the military. Anecdotally, I can say that if somebody is vocal about their opinions, they are usually conservative. On the other hand, most of my Marines, 24 and younger, don't care and probably won't vote, which pretty much just makes them Gen Z. That's there's a reason why these voting cohorts hold the way that they do, is that, look, if you're 24 and younger, you're probably not going to vote. You're at the age where you don't care about voting. Morgan Jackson, a senior advisor to North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper and Democratic gubernatorial candidate Josh Stein, they want to see the president take this election by the horns And that's what you've seen from him in the campaign the last few weeks. I think you're going to see poll numbers respond. This is right from the well of optimism in the Biden campaign. This is going to work. So far, those poll numbers have largely remained stagnant. However, Trump continues to lead Biden in polling averages both nationally and in battleground states. Biden's own job approval ratings are basically unchanged since the March State of the Union address, when his reelection campaign clicked into a higher gear. So they're not saying that this is the second reboot, but they are saying that there has been a graduation. Add one. What else are they going to say? Exactly. They want to work in Democratic politics. But there are recent points of optimism for the Democrats, or perhaps less anxiety. Fresh polling shows that Biden is making modest gains with voters following Trump's guilty verdict, and the Biden campaign appears poised to try to aggressively exploit the post-trial news environment. I think that they may have waited until after the trial to start the contrast drumbeat, and now they're coming out of the gate with everything that they have, doing contrast until November. That's the whole reason to do a debate this early. It's unclear if the Biden campaign recent attempts to calm Democratic nerves will have the desired outcome. The president's efforts to squeeze Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have not been enough for progressive Democrats who want more dramatic policies, including an end to U.S. military aid. And Biden's border policy has angered progressive-minded Democrats who say he's borrowing intellectually from Trump. Progressive Caucus Chair Pramila Jayapal. Trump has created an environment that pits immigrants against others and raises xenophobia and fear, and I think he's doing it because he wants to hide the fact that he's giving all these tax cuts to billionaires and doing nothing for regular people. I think it's got the president boxed into a place where he feels like he needs to be tough on the border. Even as he moves aggressively to staunch the bleeding, challenges loom for Biden, including a restless base and a third-party challenge from Bobby Kennedy Jr., said an official with Biden's reelection campaign, granted anonymity to speak frankly, though he was not authorized to do so. All right, so here we go. At the very end of this article, we have somebody inside the Biden campaign that's going to say something negative. They were not authorized. Here we go. You have key parts of the coalition, the Democratic coalition, who are willing to vote third party or sit out the election, and that's the real challenge. I mean, that's just true. Biden has a long history of borrowing intellectually. Historically. Just ask Kinnick. So, I don't blame. In fact, I think that it is a good strategic idea for the Biden campaign to put that out there. I do think it is a good idea. You need to do it because this is a moment where you don't want Democratic optimism to turn to despair. And there is Democratic optimism for the idea that Donald Trump becoming a convicted felon is going to turn the tide. Whether or not that's real, you need to capture what is there and you need to say, yeah, no further. There have been some encouraging national polls for him where things have moved like a point, 2 points in his direction. That's good. You'd rather have those than not have those. But, the last rash, let's take a look. So here we go. Fresh poll today, Minnesota. 3 wide, Trump, Biden, Kennedy. It is Trump up 4 in Minnesota. Let's see, what's the margin of error on that? Margin of error is 3.5. So he is essentially within the margin of error. Trump is essentially within the margin of error in Minnesota. Let me remind everybody that we are on a 12-cycle winning streak for the Democrats in Minnesota. The Reagan roll-up couldn't corral the pinky that was Minnesota. That is not Trump up 4. It is Biden up 4 in Minnesota. The margin of error is 3.5. Adawan, there's no way that Trump is competitive in Minnesota. Yeep. He was competitive in 2016. General election, Trump, Biden, Trump up 1. But here's really what we care about. We care about swing states. Arizona, Trump up 5. Nevada, Trump up 5. Virginia, this one, you know, you do not want to see these. You do not. In the last 2 months, the only 2 polls that are taken that are head to head have a tie in Virginia. That's like stinky. You do not want that. If you are spending money in Virginia, you are having a problem. Yeah, Fox News. I mean, again, Fox News isn't the one. Fox News is the one publishing it. They're not the one that's doing it. But Fox is a good. I mean, Biden plus 4 gets determined as Trump basically within the margin of error when he's outside the margin of error. I mean, sure. Trump is down 0.5% from the margin of error in Minnesota. It is a local TV news poll, so I don't really know the methodology around it. All I'm saying is this. It should be a Biden win. Again, Democrats have won Minnesota 12 straight cycles. You better hope it's a Biden win. But you also better hope that Virginia is a Biden win. Florida is Trump plus 4. That's actually a good poll for Biden. Let's look at that. Margin of error is 3. So you want to know what? Biden basically within the margin of error in Florida. If that'll make you happy, Nooch. Come on, bro. When we do 5 wides, nothing really changes in Arizona or Nevada. Biden goes up 1 in Virginia. That's interesting. And Trump's lead extends to beyond the margin of error in Florida. That is Trump plus 7. How many days before the first debate? I believe that's on the 27th. We are at the 10th now, so 17 days. Right now, general election. Oh, geez. Emerson poll that came out last week has Trump up 6. I don't know how much I buy that. But Biden under 40. That is gross. You don't want that. You don't want that. Kennedy's beginning to fade in some of the polling. But then also there's this. I mean, we've yet to hit the biggest chasm, which was what, 20.3. That was the biggest spread, but our current average is 16.2. Not great, Bob. Not great. When your approval rating is under 40, not awesome. And that's the other thing, is that his disapproval keeps climbing. And it's pretty stubbornly high here. So even as people are not, I mean, and this is going to close. But if it's like, oh, well, what's going on with the Biden campaign? Well, people don't like him. you know, people don't seem to cotton to the man. But I do think that this debate's going to be very discussed. It is going to be very, very, very discussed. Most people don't like Trump too. That's true. Problem is that the backup quarterback is always very popular. Right now you have the conch if you are the president. And if things are not going well, then people blame you. And yes, Donald Trump is essentially a incumbent. But he's not the president. Yes, this is an ember mug. I gotta say, I'm not super in love with these days, but it's okay. The presidential election has shifted from a popularity contest to a least unpopular contest. Not a bad way to put it. Haven't we done well? Yeah. Your boy's out here. I'm living. All right, hold on. I gotta send an email real quick because it looks like we might have multiple guests on a show this week. How well does Riverside handle multiple guests? Great. I've never had more than two, but that is not for any reason in particular, except I just haven't had more than two. I think it handles it pretty good. When I'm close to the mic, I get blurry. Yeah, my focus is a little too shallow. That's why I'm trying to lean back. Yes, Merrill. Like I just mentioned. That's why I was leaning back. Because my focus is a little, pushed back here. Is this good? Does this work? God King 2 this election. I just think, we'll see where we are in November. I'll be a father, hopefully. That'll be interesting. But I don't know. I have like this suspicion that it's not out of the realm of possibility. For this to kind of get a little out of hand. Like, let me put it this way. If, Decision Desk is nonpartisan. If Decision Desk had Joe Biden winning all of the swing states, Democrats with like a +4 Senate gain, keeping the House despite there being tremendous controversy, and Biden winning, do you think that we would be describing this as a blowout? Because this kind of gets to the idea of our divergent media and where, the Rush Limbaughs of the world made his entire, premise of why you need alternative voices, why there's a need for conservative voices. Because if you take the numbers that we're looking at right now, would you be describing it as a blowout? Because I think that there's a pretty good chance that we would. Now, I don't know if it will be a blowout. I suspect that Biden's going to close this. The thing that worried me about that Politico article is that there's this idea of like, oh, we just need to tell the public more. The public just doesn't know. To which I'm like, about Trump? What do you need to tell them about Trump that they don't know? I mean, what are we going to learn? What are we going to learn between now and then? God bless my boy Bill Scher. Bill Scher in Washington Monthly is Biden campaign should hire Bill Scher. I'll just say that. They should bring on Bill Scher and still allow him to come on my show, because he is putting more inventive, fresh thoughts into this Biden campaign than anybody else. He is from a bygone era. Salute to Bill Scher. I love Bill because Bill reminds me just of like the way that the like New York Times or Washington Post kind of used to be, where you would just have two different columnists that would just kind of like write from the perspective of the campaigns. They would like make campaign arguments. They were partisan voices, right? But you used to have strong conservative voices in some of those outlets. And now you really only have never Trump conservatives that talk. In a bygone era, somebody like Ben Shapiro would be a like columnist at the New York Times. He'd be like, it would be that kind of voice at the New York Times. And he would write one, maybe two columns during election season a week, and then write a book every year. Instead, they got that man fucking doing daily podcasting. That's hard. I don't know. Daily podcasting sucks. I don't know what I would rather do less. Write or do a daily podcast. Jen Rubin is the conservative voice of the Washington Post, which it's like, as soon as you had to be never Trump, like you're not getting a pro-Trump voice in those outlets. And I think that they're poorer for it. I keep reading about how retailers are lowering their prices after artificially raising them post-pandemic. People should start feeling it soon. Yeah, I think Target's lowering prices, but again, it's like, what is artificial? Is it market, supply, or demand? Like, if people are paying that amount, then they will charge it. This is a market economy. Do you do daily podcasting? I think I podcast every day. Mondays, I usually don't. But I'm going to be recording stuff today, so. We're going into a recession. That's why the prices are dropping. Well, not as of now. I mean, and look, I thought a recession was coming for a year and a half. Maybe 2 years, and it hasn't. When was that where we like technically went into a recession where we were 2 quarters in negative GDP? If only there was some sort of governing body that could monitor or control prices. I mean, if we want to have the conversation about whether or not price controls are good, we can. When Jury's not on the road, he's typically live streaming Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yes, that is normally when unless I have interviews and stuff like that, which, by the way, let me take a look, see whether or not I'm doing an interview in 10 minutes or later. Cool. All right. It's going to be later. Stephen Gutowski will be on the program this week. We're going to talk about Hunter Biden's gun charges and the NRA and whether or not Donald Trump can own a gun because he's now a convicted felon pending appeal. So if there are any gun questions for Stephen Gutowski, who runs The Reload, he's a CNN contributor. But yeah, he's one of my favorites on the subject because he is not a I think he's a sober voice in a topic that does not tend to thrive on sobriety. Hunter should go on the unsubscribe podcast to win over the gun tuber crowd. I saw a video that I'm assuming was fake, purporting to be Hunter Biden going naked and like dragging a woman back into his room. I assume it's fake because I have not seen it reported or even like retweeted by other conservative influencers. And the person I initially saw it from was former professional wrestler Val Venus. I'd love to know from Steven if silencers will lose the tax stamp and what happened to the brace ban. Okay. Hunter will have a George W. Bush arc. Man, look. It was about 50-50 in the YouTube comments. I said on the last podcast in the YouTube comments, let me know whether you or not you want me to cover Hunter stuff. And it was very interesting because it does mean that this podcast has evolved. Longtime listeners know that this is like crack to me. I mean, probably should have picked a different metaphor. Political scandal stuff I am always going to be drawn to. And this is a particularly crazy train wreck. But that being said, some people were like, no, it doesn't have anything to do with anything. Don't cover it. For which I'm like, okay, that's interesting. It means that people want me to be more mature. That being said, it is the son of the president on trial for gun charges that he was about to plea away before his lawyers wanted it to be more broad. As it affects the election, yes, on its own, no. I mean, look, when anyone's talking about somebody playing Fleet Foxes while he's smoking crack with two strippers in the VIP, like, I'm going to mention it. I'm sorry. I don't have that willpower. I'm not going to cover it any more than, it is extraordinarily interesting. I will say on the stream that addiction is really, really dark. I want to remind everybody of that. I will always have sympathy for addicts. I've grown up around addiction. It has shaped my life. But geez Louise with cheese. When Beau Biden's widow is talking about smoking ping pong ball size crack rocks with Hunter, that's some dark stuff, dude. I'd take Hunter off my will if I were Joe. I mean, I think they're together forever. Nobody's going to survive if they all start turning on each other. That's a fact. Because I don't know what has gone on with the Biden family. I don't know from zero to James Comer, like how much of like the Biden crime family stuff is true. But let's assume that at 25% of it, it's enough to screw everything up. Could you imagine the Hunter Biden spills his guts interview with Tucker Carlson? Why are you here now? This weekend at a family event, someone said to me, if they can do this to Trump, they can do this to Hillary or Biden. And I said, yeah, let's do it to them too. We should want criminals out of politics. This is a bad road to walk down. It's just a bad road to walk down. You can make a criminal out of a lot of people. I'm not saying that I like any of these people. I'm the guy who says that politicians are sociopathic lizard people. All right? Those are my priors. I don't believe that politicians are good people. I think anybody who looks at a politician as a role model needs to have their head examined. That being said, I don't think it's good if we are going back and forth about trying to put people in jail. It's not a sign of a healthy democracy. It's just, you're mixing a lot of toxic elements. You're mixing partisan politics where people are designed to be inflamed. Democracy is about inflaming emotion. Sometimes you inflame good emotion. We can do it. We will rebuild. That's our resolve. This is my faith. I stick up for the little guy. Good emotions. Sometimes you inflame bad emotions. This is evil. This needs to stop. If this keeps happening, then people will die. Either way, you're inflaming emotions. You're getting people up from a 5 to a 7. When in that article, when Biden says, and his campaign says that there's an information gap, the information gap that they are talking about is what will make you go from, I don't care about this election, screw Joe Biden, to Donald Trump is such an existential threat to democracy that I don't care if I hate Joe Biden. That's the information gap they're talking about. To mix that with the power of the courts is bad. It's just not good. You're able to find crimes. You are able to find juries that will convict. You're able to find judges that will, at the very least, not will plinko your plinko chip the right direction. Not to say that they are corrupt, but some might be, right? It's just, I was certainly not a fan of the Alvin Bragg case. I got questions about the others, but at least I think they have more of a basis in very interesting legal questions. You can make a criminal out of anyone. Sounds like the police are corrupt then. Everybody's corruptible. Spinny. Everyone's corruptible. There's not an organization among us that is not corruptible. There's not a corporation that's not corruptible. There's not a form of government that's not corruptible. There's not a court that's not corruptible. There's not a police force that's not corruptible. There's not a human that's not corruptible. So we can only judge this by what we put into it. Accepting that everything is corruptible is defeatist. I want better for these people in this world. No, it's not defeatist. It's realistic. And it's like saying I could both be a bodybuilder or I could be 700 pounds. That is just stating the spectrum of humanity. That is just stating the spectrum of who we are as people. There are some organizations that are extraordinarily well run. Do they have elements of corruption within them? Sure, of course, we all do. Does it get in the way of their output? No. That's what I would like to focus more on is the input and output. What are we putting into the system? What are we getting out of it? And let's judge the world by efficiency. If Biden were to win, what do you think his most likely path is? Oh, you want to know what? We haven't done a 250 to or 270 to win in a while. Let's do that. 270 to win. Meryl Barr, I have muscular dystrophy. I absolutely cannot be a bodybuilder. Okay, well, I didn't say everybody could be a bodybuilder. I said I could be a bodybuilder. Or I could be 700 pounds. Now, it depends on what you mean by the definition of bodybuilder. Could you be a fitness model? Maybe. A lot of those terms are fluid these days. Okay. So here we go. Let's take this map. We've got 5 states here. As of right now, let's put the Sun Belt into Republican hands. Then that puts him on the cusp, right? So we are cusping it. So is Florida now within the margin of error for Biden? No, that poll was within the margin of error. I mean, so that is likely Republican. Right now it's likely Republican, not lean Republican. We can put it lean if it makes you feel better, Knooch. I don't believe it will be. I think that it is very much lean. So, first things first, let's understand this. The Sun Belt states and the Rust Belt states have herded in the last two elections. So this would be a change for them to not herd in the same direction. But let's go ahead and give Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. Pennsylvania. All right. Now they're up to 245. Michigan, Wisconsin, 270. Bada bing, bada boom. Oh yeah, and then if the one Nebraska split, if that goes the Republicans' way, then it's a 269, and you throw it to the House, and Donald Trump is the president because the House would decide. Look, it's got to be close. I mean, all right, so let's take a look at, where's the old ones? So this is 2020. So again, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, all together. The six pack, riding as a unit. Let's go to 2016. Right. Okay, so Nevada went blue, but Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia. So 5 out of the 6. They went red. Nevada has been stubborn for the Republicans. Although, boy, I'll tell you what, if you follow John Ralston, the Oracle of the Silver State, he's not optimistic. He tends to lean left, and he is not optimistic. Trump says he won't tax tips. Nevada's in the bag. I wonder if they're going to have to start doing indoor events. They had a few heat related issues for the Trump rally in Arizona, and then they had they sent out an email basically saying, everybody please prepare for like really, really hot temperatures in Nevada. But they've tried to keep stuff on the cheap. By the way, we got some great guests on the show this week. We have a security expert, somebody who has actually worked security for politicians and celebrities, who is going to go through what he sees as a troubling trend of very divisive politicians that are moving into crowds without proper security. So we're going to talk a little bit about the X's and O's of political assassination. And then we are going to have Edinger Mentum. Are you guys familiar with Edinger Mentum on Twitter? He's a good follow. I would highly recommend people follow him on Twitter. He is I'm guessing he's young, but he's a progressive election analyst. He has been extraordinarily critical of Biden, but put out a thing after some of the polls that came out last week saying, there is a slim window, not just to a Biden win, but to a blue landslide. You guys know I love the crazy shit. Dice Clay MM, a funny guy. He's a leftist version of you. He's going to be on the show this Friday. All right. That's it. I'm done for today. I will see you guys a little bit later. See you down the road. Till next time. Peace out.